So this is the tile that we chose. It's porcelain rectified tile. Rectified means that the edges are squared off. The dimensions are 80 by 80 centimeters, which tells you it's from Europe, and it translates roughly to 32 by 32 inches. These days that dimension is considered medium format. Not so long ago, 8 by 8 inches or 12 by 12 inches was considered large for a kitchen. But now we have tiles that are 4 feet by 6 feet. So this is considered medium format. This tile can be handled by one person easily. It's not very heavy. It can be cut. It can be moved around. I was going for a slate look tile. I realized that slate is not a good floor material because it requires too much maintenance. So I wanted something that looked like slate. And this has both an organic and an industrial influence to it. So with the color range from very dark gray to very light gray, and there's a few orange flecks in there that looks like iron oxide. So it could be industrial like rust, or it could be organic like it appears naturally in nature. Another nice thing about this tile is that it pulls together all the colors that we have in the kitchen, the black that's in the countertop and the sink, as well as the upper and the lower cabinets. Tile installation started today, although it's not really installation, it's just prep work. New trade showed up, Cordell, whom everybody says is brilliant when it comes to tile installation. I'll show you the prep that they've done so far and give you a quick walkthrough. They put in a new zipper door between the dining room and this room. It's partly for dust control, but not really. There's not much dust in tile installation, but it's for temperature management. There's still a big difference in temperature between the dining room where the thermostat is and this room where there's no heat. Detra membrane has been installed. The purpose of the Detra membrane is twofold. One is moisture, so that if we get the floor wet, it doesn't damage the subfloor, and also to decouple the strata. Decoupling allows one layer to move independently of the other, which is not as much of a problem with an older house. But if there's settling or if there's any shifts going on, it doesn't cause shearing between the layers if they're coupled. This Detra membrane has been glued down. The edges are cut very cleanly. The attention to detail on this is amazing. And it's just membrane. You may have noticed that this leaded glass is gone. That's being repaired and should be back before the end of the project. One of the key decisions, two key decisions that we made was where to center the tile. In terms of left and right, I said I didn't want a grout line running down the middle of the kitchen. And so I said, why don't we center a tile between the two cabinets? Based on that advice, the contractors started measuring and they decided it would work out well. The cuts would be reasonable. The other decision was where to center the tile front to back in the house. And I said to center it with this window for two reasons. One, this has turned out to be the centerpiece of the kitchen, and so we should highlight that. The other reason is I didn't want to be standing on two different tiles while I was washing dishes. I previously stayed in a house where that was the case, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever, and I couldn't stop thinking about it when I was washing the dishes, and so I said, don't do it here. Danny and Cordell were just astonished at this request, but it turned out it was a good place to put the center line. I was within, maybe 3 inches. They put it off to one side so that we could get nicer cuts on the floor for the tile here. Weird L-shaped cuts result in cracks in the tile long term. That's the prep so far, and hopefully we'll see some tile go in tomorrow. Tile work's been going on for a few days, but the progress has been slow because it's so tedious and methodical, because each of the cuts has to be so precise. So I'm batching up the progress from several days to show you what's been happening. The first day of progress was these 5 tiles here. These were in some ways the most difficult tiles, although they didn't require any cutting. They were the most difficult because they needed to be lined up. These tiles set the baseline for every other line. Cordell spent quite a long time with the laser on the ground trying to figure out where the grout line should. No surprise, but our house is not square. It may have been square at some point, but it's not square anymore. So the walls are not completely straight this way. It's not completely parallel to the opposite wall. So there's even more of out of square in the front hall, and I'll show you what he's done there. So that was the first day. It wasn't a full day. He wasn't able to cut because it was raining, and he wasn't able to use his tools outside like he wanted to. So he just laid the baseline, which is probably the toughest tiles. And as we figured out, this will basically be the center between the two cabinets, and that second last tile there will be almost centered in front of the window. Some of the cuts into the next room worked out better to not put it exactly centered. So let me show you the second day of progress. This tile, this tile, this tile, and that tile. So these required a fair bit of cutting, as you can see in this corner, for example. This goes around this bit of wall and that bit of wall, and more cutting there, more cutting there, and he's got it fitting right up to the door frame there. So the third day, he made a lot more progress on the third day. So he spent a lot of time. All of the tiles that have the green tape on them, we can't walk on them right now. And so that's what he spent today on. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, these. So, and continuing along this line here, all the way to the back. So what you should notice is that he left a path for us to use through the process, right? So these tiles with the X's were not there yesterday, and so we could walk there on top of the membrane. And so now he left us a landing spot here so that we could step up from the living room onto here, onto the stairs. And so he's leaving these paths for us to get in and out of the house. So yesterday we couldn't go from here this way into the basement. So if we wanted to go into the basement, we went out the front door and in the side door. And now the front door is out of commission, so we've locked that up, and we're using the side door to come into the house. So really thoughtful. Lots of attention to detail, very careful. So it's just one guy, he likes working by himself, slow and steady, and just really nice, clean, precise cuts, getting up close and tight as he can. He'll probably finish tomorrow. He's just got this section here to do, and then the nook out there, and both of these are pretty square. The nook has a little bit of plumbing from the radiator to work with, but he's also got moldings that he can hide some of the joints that will cover up when he goes right up against the wall. The nook should be pretty easy to do and continuing along this line here all the way to the back. So what you should notice is that he left a path for us to use through the process, right? So these tiles with the X's were not there yesterday, and so we could walk there on top of the membrane. And so now he left us a landing spot here so that we could step up from the living room onto here, onto the stairs. And so he's leaving these paths for us to get in and out of the house. So yesterday we couldn't go from here this way into the basement. So if we wanted to go into the basement, we went out the front door and in the side door. And now the front door is out of commission, so we've locked that up, and we're using the side door to come into the house. So really thoughtful. Lots of attention to detail, very careful. So it's just one guy, he likes working by himself, slow and steady, and just really nice, clean, precise cuts, getting up close and tight as he can. He'll probably finish tomorrow. He's just got this section here to do, and then the nook out there, and both of these are pretty square. The nook has a little bit of plumbing from the radiator to work with, but he's also got moldings that he can hide some of the joints that will cover up when he goes right up against the wall.
I have a couple of photos from the last day of tile work. In the front hall, Cordell added 3 pieces of tile in front of the door and 2 more into the closet. We locked the front door and put up some green tape to remind us of where not to go. In the kitchen, the last row of tile along the wall has gone in and the nook is done as well. The final step is to grout the seams. I want to point out the seams are tiny. They're thinner than a credit card. I know, we tried. I don't have any video of the finished floor because I didn't get a chance to shoot before Danny came and covered the floor with cardboard. Even though the tile is pretty durable, he wanted it to be protected during the cabinet delivery and installation. Another example of his attention to detail.